Shalom. First and foremost, call Loyam, Wakabala, YAHAWAH, BaHa, YAHAWASHI, BaHa, QADASH. Double honors to the elder apostles of the great millstone who rule well. Peace, blessings, and salutations to the hopeful elect tabernacle of David, scattered throughout the four corners of the earth. Now, I just want to do a quick response to the priest Tazamah down in the Dallas camp, in which this is the video you see entitled Vocab, Did the Apostle Paul Believe in the Prophets and Law? And, it's the spirit, because over a week ago, I did a lesson going into all the prophets dealing with the subject of Edom. And I asked the question to all Christians and even bootleg Israelites: do you agree with the prophecies concerning Edom? And if you agree with the prophets and what they said concerning Edom, then why would you think that Apostle Paul would try to save an Edomite? So really, if you was to answer this question and then revert back and read all the prophecies concerning Edom by the prophets, then you would have to consider either the Bible either contradicts or you are just going against the Bible. Just simply put. Now, Haman keeps hinging on how when Paul was brought before King Agrippa, because he had to testify and defend himself, he used a little flattery, towards the king, who at the time when you have a ruler, when you stand before a magistrate, a king, a ruler, rulers most likely have the authority and the power to grant pardonship. They can pardon you if you're a prisoner or you're bound to prison or incarceration. They have the authority to grant you pardon. So Paul knew what he was doing in the spirit. All right. And really, the spirit was on him, because everything that he said, it actually worked, because he ended up winning favor with the king, and he didn't have to be bound in prison. Now, this is what the scriptures say, because real quick, let's go to Proverbs 15:1. We always get this concerning this topic. Proverbs 15:1, it says, "A soft answer turneth away wrath, but grievous words stir up anger. The tongue of the wise useth knowledge aright, but the mouth of fools poureth out foolishness." And it would have been foolish for Apostle Paul to start cursing out King Agrippa and, condemning him and all that. You asking to get bound to prison or even put to death. So he used wisdom, what the scriptures tell you. Let's get another one real quick. And I gotta, I'm not gonna be too long, because I gotta get to the plantation. It's just a quick response. This is Proverbs 16:13-14. It says, "Righteous lips are the delight of kings, and they love him that speaketh right. The wrath of a king is as messengers of death, but a wise man will pacify it." Hey, so did what Apostle Paul did in that moment, was that an act of being a sissy, being a coward, or was that wisdom? All right. Now, he's trying to say that we're trying to make Paul into a sissy because he actually pacified the king in that moment, where he's giving a testimony, where he's basically defending himself, his stance, representing himself in the court of law. It would be stupid on his behalf to have tried to condemn and curse out the king. What are you talking about? But let's play where he mentions this, and then I'm gonna use another example.
So let's go back to Mr. Haman Malone here.
Christian, you guys need to be Christians, amen.
Which we are the true Mashiachim. We are the anointed ones, and the only ones that are the only ones that can be anointed ones are Israelites. Point blank, period. No other nation, especially not no goddamn Edomite, man.
It says, and Paul said, whether short or long, I would to God that not only you, the Edomite, he's an Edomite. He's an Edomite. Now, I knew you were going to go there, so let me cut you off in the past. I got you.
Context for the viewers.
Before he left, Agabus, the prophet, prophesied, you're going to get bound up in Jerusalem. Yes or no?
So if a man...
And hold up, let me finish.
Go ahead, John.
And he said to Agabus, don't worry about it, bro. We can go there if you want to. He said, I'm not only willing to be bound up, like remember he did the sermon illustration with his belt, I'm willing to die. To die. Now you want to turn Paul from strong man to sissy because you can't.
Who said we're turning Paul from strong man to sissy? Because he was before a king. He was before somebody that had rulership. Hey, does not the scripture say, be ye therefore wise as serpents and harmless as doves?
Exactly. What is this guy talking about, man? He was using wisdom in this particular moment. All right. And not only, but the Spirit was speaking through him in that moment. Let's get Matthew. YAHAWASHI admonished to his disciples when he was still with them that these type of things would happen. All right. Apostle Paul had to endure this. Matthew 10 and 18, it says, and you shall be brought before governors and kings for my sake, for a testimony against them and the Gentiles. But when they deliver you up, take no thought how or what ye shall speak, for it shall be given you in that same hour what you shall speak. So the Lord put the Spirit on Paul to speak what he spoke. And apparently it worked because he was able to continue on after that in the ministry until he was martyred. But this is what happened. It says, for it is not ye that speak, but the Spirit of your Father which speaketh in you. All right. So he used wisdom according to the Spirit. But hey, let's not act like that same Paul who said that to Agabus, that he didn't make this statement to the church at Philippi. Let's go to Philippians 1 and starting at 21. It says, for to me to live is Hamashiach, and to die is gain. But if I live in the flesh, this is the fruit of my labor. Yet what I shall choose, I would not. In other words, I can't tell whether I want to live or die because both are beneficial. All right. Whether I live, I get to live in Hamashiach. All right. I get to carry his cross. I get to, bear his name before the Israelite foreigners, the Gentiles. But if I die, it's also beneficial. And he's going to tell you, it says, for I am in a strait betwixt two, having a desire to depart and to be with Hamashiach, which is far better. All right. And all the hell that he caught, he damn sure wanted to leave and go be with Yahawashi in paradise. Okay. That's why he was willing to be bound and to die for Yahawashi. But this is what he said, just to put everything in perspective. Nevertheless, to abide in the flesh is more needful for you. So he understood in that moment that it's more needful, it's more beneficial that he live in the flesh so that more Israelites can wake up. So more Israelites can be built up and edified in the faith. And that was his purpose. The Lord used him as a vessel. Okay. And having this confidence, I know that I shall abide and continue with you all for your furtherance and joy of faith, that your rejoicing may be more abundant in a Mashiach, Yahawashi Mashiach for me by my coming to you again. So it was more beneficial him being alive so that the ministry can carry on, because he had a high responsibility given the office that was bestowed upon him. He said, woe is me if I preach not the gospel. A dispensation of the gospel was committed unto him. He was put in trust with the gospel. So it was definitely more needful for him to be around until he fulfilled his course. Okay. Just like Yahawashi said, his meat is to do the will of his Father and to finish it. He wasn't going to die, he wasn't going to be sacrificed until all things were fulfilled. Okay. So at that moment when he had his appeal, hey, he had to say what needed to be said in the spirit at that time, because that preserved him and it prevented him from being barred up so that he could continue in the ministry. All right. And then eventually, you know, he ended up being persecuted and eventually martyred. But he didn't let, you know, tribulation, death, he didn't let none of that separate him from the love of the anointed. Was that Romans 8? Let me see if I could get that. Yeah, this is Romans 8 and 36 says, as it is written, for thy sake we are killed all the day long. We are accounted as sheep for the slaughter. Nay, in all these things we are more than conquerors through him that loved us. For I am persuaded that neither death, nor life, nor angels, nor principalities, nor powers, nor things present, nor things to come, nor height, nor depth, nor any other creature shall be able to separate us from the love of the Most High, which is in Hamashiach YAHAWASHI, our Lord. So, of course, he wasn't afraid to die. He was willing to die. But he still understood the importance of, you know, being used as a vessel to, you know, preach the gospel amongst the Israelite foreigners, because that's who the Lord died for. The sheep that is not of this fold, them I must bring. And he used the ministry of Apostle Paul. All right, the apostle to the Gentiles. All right, to preach grace and mercy, so that the Israelite foreigners can come back into the fold and be reconciled. So I don't understand how that makes him a coward or a sissy, and that's not what we're making him to. We're saying that he used wisdom in that moment, and the Spirit was basically upon him in that moment. Okay, and it preserved him because it wasn't his time. What use would he have been if he was just locked up? And let's get an example real quick before I close the lesson out. Let's go to King David. Now, this is a man who slayed tens of thousands of men. This is a man, all right, who went up against the Goliath, all right, a giant who was very feared by everybody. Nobody wanted to fight this man, but King David went up against him with just you know, some stones. All right, no armor, no nothing. He wasn't afraid to die. He showed nothing but courageousness. But this, let's get a statement by one of his musicians. All right, this is Psalms 56. All right, to the chief musician upon Jonathan Lim Rachakim Maktum of David, when the Philistines took him in Gath. Okay. It says, let me jump down. Yeah, let me just read this, because this is a courageous man. He didn't really fear man, but he had moments where he had run-ins, and you know, he sent up prayers. Sometimes he would actually get afraid. It says, be merciful unto me, O power, for man would swallow me up. He fighting daily oppressive me. Mine enemies would daily swallow me up. For they be many that fight against me, O thou Most High. What time I am afraid, I will trust in thee. In the Most High I will praise his word. In the Most High I have put my trust. I will not fear what flesh can do unto me. Okay? That's what he said. And then you jump down, he reiterates it again. In the power, in the Most High power will I praise his word. In the Lord will I praise his word. In the power have I put my trust. I will not be afraid what man can do unto me. Now this same King David, when he was on the run from Saul, let's go there real quick. This is what King David did in the moment. Now you tell me if King David was being a sissy here, or was he just using prudence, wisdom? All right. And this is when the Lord took the spirit from Saul and troubled him with an evil spirit, and he anointed David right before he was going to become king. All right. So he was constantly on the run from Saul. 1 Samuel 21 and 10, it says, and David arose and fled that day for fear of Saul, and went to AHCH, the king of Gath. And the servants of AHCH said unto him, is not this David the king of the land? Did they not sing one to another of him in dances, saying, Saul hath slain his thousands, and David his ten thousands? And David laid up these words in his heart, and was sore afraid of AHCH, the king of Gath. All right. And that's why I read that psalm. And he changed his behavior before them, and feigned himself mad in their hands. So he pretty much started to behave like he was, off the rocks, or like he was just, his elevator didn't go all the way to the top. All right. It says, and scribbled on the doors of the gate, and let his spittle fall down upon his beard. Now, was he being a coward right here? Was he being a sissy? When he ran, when he was seeking refuge, and he ran over by this king, the king of Gath? Or was he using prudence, wisdom? Was he being wise as a serpent and harmless as a dove? But look what it made the king do. Then said AHCH unto his servants, lo, you see the man is mad. You see he retarded. Wherefore then have you brought him to me? Why you bring him to me? You say this man is retarded. Have I need of madmen, that you have brought this fellow to play the madman in my presence? Shall this fellow come into my house? So you see what happened right here. David used wisdom, and he altered his behavior to prevent any danger from happening, being in the presence of this king here while he was on the run. This is the same mighty David who will not fear what flesh can do unto him. The man who went up against Goliath and slew him. The men who killed tens of thousands. He did this. Come on, man. So we can apply this same logic. So how does that make David, it's like Apostle Paul, how does that make him a sissy? Yeah, he was willing to die, but he understood that also in order for him to forward the ministry, he needs to be in the flesh. Even though it would have definitely been better to be present with the Lord and absent from the body. Yeah, for sure. For all of us. We'd all would rather be in that position, but we understand while we're here, we have a purpose. Paul understood his purpose, man. So you're reaching, and it's time for you to, shut this argument down, because it's getting weaker and weaker and weaker. All right. So, that's pretty much it. I just want to land back off of this lesson here. All right. Done by the priest Tazama. All right. Answer that question. Did Apostle Paul believe in the prophets and the law? And if so, what do you agree with what the prophet said concerning Edom? And Agrippa, the Herodians, they were Edomites. And if you can help not being deceptive and answer thoroughly according to what the scriptures say, then we can close this argument. So anyway, with that, I'm gonna give all praise to YAHAWASHI, Lord willing, this is edifying. Shalom.